We are live. What's up, everybody? It is August 19th. It's a Tuesday. We are 1 week out from Husker football season. The vibes are flowing. The band is playing. The juices are going. And we are pumped to do a little podcast tonight. Andrew's here, my brother. I'm David. And we have a very special guest, a dear friend of ours. We go back years as Twitter friends and then podcast friends. He is the godfather, as I call him, the godfather of Husker podcasting from the GoBigRedcast. He's been at this for way longer than anybody. He's one of the biggest inspirations for us getting into podcasting, and we've been good friends for, 5+ years. Honke, welcome to the Huskers podcast, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Andrew, David, thanks for the invite. Always willing to talk a little Husker football with you guys.
Hey. No better time of year. I want to start with this. I woke up this morning in a cold sweat, in a great cold sweat, and I immediately was texting Andrew about this, and then he didn't respond fast enough, so I started tweeting about it, which is a dangerous recipe for me because the vibes were going very, very hot, very, very fast. So I woke up this morning and was thinking, like, we've got, for those not paying attention, the national media guys are jumping in. And Josh Pate, who is probably my favorite college football podcaster besides Honke, has put Nebraska in the playoff. So has Brandon Walker, who writes for Barstool on their college football site and leads their game day post. Greg McElroy today just put us there too. So, right, I've been saying we've been in the playoff.
Greg McElroy had us winning the SEC, didn't he?
Winning the SEC, yeah.
That's going to be tough, but I think we have a shot. Yeah.
So I woke up this morning.
This
is the first time. This is the first time. Like, obviously, we have been saying we're going to win the Big Ten and we're going to go to the playoff every year for the last 10 years. We've been wrong for a decade straight. But I was like, what if I woke up this morning? Like, what if we were right? Like, what if this actually happens? And here I am. I've been saying, like, if we go to the playoff, there is no budget that will stop me from going. Right. I've been very vocal about saying that of like, there's doesn't matter how many zeros the 401k is emptied. My kids aren't going to college. But then I woke up like, I woke up today like, wait a second. If we go and we go play this first game, there might be a second game and then another. And right. And so I started running the numbers and it was like, this could be, I mean, what were we talking? Like $500 ticket plus round trip flights to, the Fiesta Bowl plus like airline tickets and hotel. You're talking $5,000 a weekend. You're talking $5,000 a weekend every week through Christmas, through the New Year. So anyway, I got stressed out and then I started tweeting about it. And then people started yelling at me that I was getting way ahead of myself, that we haven't beat Cincinnati yet. And yeah, and then I was like, wait, you know what? I just want to talk about good vibes tonight. And so we got Honke on. But anyway, that's where I started my day. I'm still kind of there. I still am like planning some warm weather trips. Hey, I don't know.
I mean, if you knew that you're going to be spending $20,000 here at the end of the year, it's worth budgeting for. It's worth, I would spend a little bit of time preparing for that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And again, you're not the one saying we're going to be in the playoff. There's plenty of national people that are way smarter than us that are telling us that. So who am I to say they're wrong?
Yeah, a lot of people are pretty worried this year about how much they're going to spend on the playoff tickets. Like that's their main concern. I think most logical fans are just they're really hemming and hawing about how much they need to be budgeting for the playoffs.
I just think it's different. Like I think it, but it's different when like other people are like, oh no, you guys are actually good, and you're like, wait, excuse me, like. External national college football writer actually thinks we're good. And that's what Honke said before we came on. This is very similar. I meant to pull up this tweet, but I was laughing. The offseason arc, the arc of the hype season is unbelievable to me. Like I put up this graphic and I'll have to pull it up and tweet it out again. The day the Iowa game ended or right after it, people were just, it was about the lowest you could possibly be. Iowa didn't get a first down the entire game. We had lost 5 out of 6 games to finish the season. Yeah. Vibes are at quite literally the lowest they could possibly be. And I was like, guys, we are here right now. We're going to, it can only go up from here. It goes up to like the spring game. It gets a little bit better than they canceled the spring game. So we didn't have that. I was like, I promise you by August, we'll get it all the way back. Man. And it was like, you literally have like the lowest of lows and people forgot that we've lost 5 or 6 games. You know, they forget that we didn't win any November games in the last 3 years. Those don't matter. You know,
easy to forget when you're a Pinstripe Bowl champion.
It's straight bowl champ.
And it's been a fairly quiet offseason from the program itself. There wasn't a lot of, weight room tweets going out in June and July and all that. Like, where this came from. A lot of this comes nationally. It really is. And look, we're a blue blood, and people know that all you got to do is throw our name in a top 12 graphic or whatever, and you're going to get plenty of retweets, and you're going to get plenty of likes and plenty of people saying that's stupid, and plenty of Husker fans saying, no, it's great. I mean, that's just the reality of it. That hasn't changed at any point in the last 10 years that we've been doing this. So if you want to get some feedback and clickbait or whatever you want to call it, Husker Nation, we're right there for it every time. But again, a lot of this is being driven nationally. This is not being driven by the local folks. In fact, more times than not now, locally, we're the ones that are sitting there trying to say, hey, let's just beat Cincinnati first. Let's just get through the first game. That's us. But no, I mean, we're gonna be in the playoff too. So I'm budgeting as well right now and trying to find some flights. I don't even know where we're gonna be at yet, but
it might be a home game. It might be a home game.
It could be a home game.
So I texted my dad. I was like, hey, he's like, why? What about these season tickets? Like, are you going to get access to our season tickets for the bowl game or for the playoff? And he's just like, what are you talking about? Like, Dad, hello.
Did you hear what Josh Pate said? I mean, come on.
Hello. When we go to the playoff and we host a bowl game, he's like, to host a bowl game or like host a playoff? What are you talking about? Like, Dad, just get your name on those tickets, okay? I'll pay for them. I'll deal with it later. Just vibes are high. Just get those things going. All right. Here's the way we got this podcast set up for tonight. And first, I want to talk about Honke for a sec, but just so you guys know what's coming, we got 10 what if scenarios. And the reason I set this up this way is I'm a big on like the what if scenarios. Like, hey, what happens if we start 4-0 and the vibes are rolling and they never stop? What if we win the Big Ten? Usually get attacked. What if we win? What if we make the playoffs? Stuff like this. It's fun for me. I enjoy it because that's how my brain works. I'm always thinking like 10 steps ahead. I get crushed online. People are like, well, we just got one game at a time and like enough with this, enough of the hype train. Our job is the hype train. So we're going to run through it. We're going to have some fun. Honke calls it the Aura Day. And we're just going to do positive vibes, flow through this stuff. But before we get into it, Honke on the Redcast, would love to talk a little bit about the Redcast and then also your day job, because you just took an absolutely awesome trip this summer. You sent me a bunch of pictures. You're touring stadiums. I want that job. What's going on? What are you doing?
Yeah, I worked on campus for about 10 years doing marketing and web for the College of Engineering. It was a great job. Loved being there with those folks. But I took a job change about a year and a half ago and switched from campus to working for the NU Foundation. So now it's an opportunity for me to be able to, I think, make a little bit bigger impact on the university. Specifically, I work with the College of Business, but if you're wanting to support any level of the university, you can always reach out to me and I can get you in touch with the right people if I'm not the one that you'd be working with. But, we're in challenging budget times in the state of Nebraska on the academic side. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do within the foundation is, we're here to keep the programs going strong, keep our academics at a high level. And, we do transformative things, whether that's building buildings or getting scholarships to students. We're trying to keep the best faculty. I've said this a number of times in a work setting, but athletically, if we lost a wide receivers coach to Iowa, people would run around with their hair on fire. Just, they'd be driven nuts, but we lose, professors and assistant professors, on an annual basis that way to these competing schools. And what can we do to have professorships? Iowa and beyond. No. What can we do? Yeah.
Do you tar and feather them as they leave?
Well,
you shun them.
Well, what we try to do is we try to make sure that we're as competitive as we can be with all the other schools, and we go out and get professorships and presidential chairs. We have amazing supporters and donors from all across the country, all across the state, supporting the university and the colleges. And so that's my job, is I get to go out there and talk to a lot of Huskers from all over. I've been from Sioux Falls down to Houston. I've been from Omaha to Valentine in-state. And it's great to get out there and talk with the folks. And I'll tell you, this is coming from a Husker, deep, long Husker fan. I get frustrated with the losses like anybody. I've actually been rejuvenated in this job, talking to other donors, supporters, fans, people that I've seen the generosity of what Husker Nation has done, and it trickles into. We've had plenty of athletic discussions in the times I've talked with people, but the generosity and the support that we have from alumni and donors and just people all across Husker Nation, it really inspires me. And there's these moments where I'll be down about something, down about a loss, the Iowa game last year, whatever it was. And then I start talking to somebody the next day about what I do. And it brings me back up. And so there's a lot of medication for the soul for me to be able to do it, but I'm as proud as I can possibly be to be able to do this job, for the university, for the state of Nebraska. I mean, they're intertwined together. And a couple of weeks ago, I was down in Ohio State, and I was sending you those photos, Dave. And, I was like, I'm getting paid to do this. I'm at a conference talking with other Big Ten College of Business development officers that are for Penn State and Oregon, and you name it, all the schools are there. And it was just such a cool experience, environment. We have a great team, great people that I'm working with. And so, to be able to wake up and really truly enjoy what I'm doing, that's pretty darn cool. I pinch myself every day. I can't believe I got into this role, but it's a lot of fun and I'm enjoying it.
Good for you. You saw multiple stadiums, all right?
Yeah. Well, so for the actual job, it was just the horseshoe, but I flew into Cincinnati a couple days early. I had a couple wonderful people from Husker Nation that I met with out in the Cincinnati area. So I had to stop at Nippert Stadium, where the Bearcats, our future opponent here next week, play. And then I also stopped in Miami of Ohio. So that's on the long list of hashtag Redcast road trip. If you look at that on Twitter, you'll see a whole bunch of the places that we've been to. The Cincinnati one, I did not realize it was going to cause the little uproar that it did. I posted it's a cool stadium. It's tucked into the middle of campus. It really is. It's an old stadium, but they've done some nice updates to it. So it's a neat little stadium. And I can see why they moved it to a larger stadium, because it seats like probably 35,000 seats.
Some people lost their minds.
It's some Bearcat fans of all the Redcast road trips I've done, this is the first time we actually got pushback and they were really frustrated that I said it was small. It is. And I mean, there's a reason
it's math.
Yeah. I mean, there's 66,000 seats. The last I heard, maybe more tickets have been sold, but 66,000 tickets have been sold.
Math. Small
for Arrowhead, and 6,000 of them, they can trace back to Ohio addresses. So 60,000 of 66,000 are going to be Husker fans there. And that's fine. Everyone understands what's going on in Cincinnati. It's a money grab for you guys. We'll do better from it too. We're ecstatic that this is bigger than a bowl game for Nebraska. I mean, there's not many bowl games where you can get this percentage of your people going to another location. It's going to be Lincoln South down there in KC next Thursday night. So I'm ecstatic. I can't wait.
Love it. Well, that's our first one. So this is our first what if question. It's actually great for what if question. First, I totally forgot. Speaking of fundraising, for those listening, pipeline-jerky.com. Honke's got the sticker there. Speaking of fundraising for the athletes, royalty goes to the players on the offensive line who are back. We're 10 deep. We'll talk about it in a second. Pipeline-jerky.com. And also all the gear that you're seeing on us, the Huskers off-season national champs, which we are well on our way to. This is the year. GBR hats at huskguysstore.com. So make sure you guys check this out. Now, into the what if game. Honke's job's awesome. He always keeps me honest on like how awesome our facilities are compared to others. And it seems like we're still ranking well above Cincinnati, well above Ohio State, who, they got some other things going on, but maybe they got a title to bounce off, but that's it. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We got 20 questions. I'm going to ask a what if question. And we're going to talk about where it sits on the Kool-Aid meter, how many glasses of Kool-Aid it'll take for this to come true on a scale of 1 glass to 5 glasses. First question is, speaking of going to Kansas City to Lincoln South, what if we kick off the season by not just winning, but absolutely dominating Cincinnati at Arrowhead in week 1, which basically sets us off on a very powerful tone for the year? How many glasses of Kool-Aid do you think that is? How realistic do you think that is? I think it's 1 glass of Kool-Aid. I think that's it, because I think they're coming off 5-7 season last year. They're expected to be better. They're kind of in a down season right now. They're trying to find themselves. Honke, what do you got on game 1? What do you think? What do you think chances are that we just absolutely obliterate them?
Well, I mean, I think that, again, it's going to feel like a home game environment down there. And I like everything about where we're at as a program right now. I feel as happy as I could be. We have 3 new coordinators, which in any other given year you would look at that and go, oh, that's a problem. Look at these big changes that we've had. But instead we have Holgerson on the offense, which blows me away. It's still, I pinch myself that we have Dana Holgerson, running the offense, and he was running the offense the last 4 games of last year. So he's had an opportunity to already come in and get a few games under his belt, work through a bowl game and all those extra practices that come with them. And also look at where we were at 2 years ago. The first year that Rule came in here, he brings in Satterfield as his coordinator, and immediately Satterfield was the coordinator and the tight ends coach. And because we didn't get the quarterback coach we wanted, next thing you know, Satterfield's coaching quarterbacks. You get to that first year and you have Jeff Sims and you have Harburg on the sideline, and Satterfield doesn't even feel comfortable going up into the box. He's on the sideline with those guys, being an offensive coordinator, being a quarterback coach. That's what year 1 of the offense looked like. Year 2, they bring in Glenn Thomas, and you have a former offensive coordinator and a quarterback coach who can now just focus on working with Dylan, and you move Satterfield up to the box. You've made progress. You've improved things. But we struggle, and I think one of the toughest moves that I've ever seen a coach make, especially someone he likes, is that he basically demotes Sat with a third of the season left. But Sat doesn't go anywhere. He sticks around here now. Now you have him with former offensive coordinator experience. He's your tight ends coach. You still have Glenn Thomas here, who has former coordinator experience. You have Dana Holgerson here, a former head coach for 10 years at the FBS level. That's where we're at with offense, and it tempers my concern about making a big coordinator switch. Look at what we've done on special teams. Mike Eckler, a top 5 coach of all the years I was going to coaches clinics from Solich all the way to Frost. I would have told you Eckler was a top 3, top 4, top 5 coach, period, at any position that we had in all those years of all the coaches I saw there. And to think that he came back here, I wanted Bill Bush, bigger in life, to be our special teams coach. I thought that was a no-brainer. And when I heard Eckler, he's the one name that made me say, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm totally for that. And then finally on the defensive side, I think I'll admit, I think we'll miss Tony White in some regard, but at the same token, we brought in Butler a year ago. He was here for a year working with that staff. And then the main thing is Phil Snow, the guy that I think if Rule could go back 2 years ago, he probably would have tried to get, I know he would have tried to get Phil Snow right away. It just didn't work, but he had Phil Snow at every other stop that he's been at. The overall brain trust, heck, the defensive backs coach Williams was the defensive coordinator a year ago at UCF. And now he's our secondary coach. The brain trust that we have in that room, plus all the guys, the Barthels and the Raiolas and these guys that have been around, the Dvorak. I mean, this is a great staff. So it all comes back to, what does the roster look like on day 1? Do you think we're going to have a good roster? Does roster look solid? If it does, you win games in game 1 and game 2 by good coaching, by not making mistakes, by good tackling, by special teams, not catching punts at the 1 yard line and throwing over your head like we did against Illinois. Basic things, knocking down the penalties. If this staff gets this team to do this is as good of a roster as I've seen Nebraska have in the 9 years that we've been doing this. And the coaching staff, I'm ecstatic with. It just has to come together. That's the biggest thing. It's got to come together. That's on Coach Rule, and he's got a pretty good history of year 3s of doing that.
Love it. Andrew, what do you got for how much Kool-Aid do you think you need for this to be a blowout?
Well, I think some people are kind of expecting it. So I can't give it more than 3. If it's a blowout, I'm giving it 2. If it's a win, I'm still saying, all right, let's move on with our lives and stuff there. But I've got it as a little bit of a closer win because we're still figuring some things out. Maybe a 6-pointer. I would love to see us count it as a 1-possession game if they backdoor cover, but we still get the 1-possession win. We get, chalk that up in that statistical category. We're 10-25 or something in the last decade or so. So, I think we're so desperate to see football again, and we're so desperate to see good football again that a solidly played game, if you win this by, let's say, 2 possessions, the hype train is, it's 3-0 heading into Michigan, and we'll see you later, baby.
I think it's so important that what you said there, Andrew, about we need a solid played game. we're not handing things over. We're not jumping off sides and having 5-yard penalties coming out of timeouts, all things we've done on first games of a season. We're not having the special team gaffes and dropping punts and all those things. A solidly played game. We do that. Here's the thing. If we play a solidly played game, I'm more apt to say we're going to blow them out.
Yeah.
I don't,
based on a lot of what I'm hearing, I mean, Archie Wilson might run and pass for a touchdown. And
with both arms and both feet.
Yeah.
he might drop kick one too for the win. I don't know. This guy sounds elite, but I totally agree with you. Like, with everything that we are hearing, the composite talent, like the top to bottom, is probably the best that it has been. Yes, we've lost some top end talent. Yes, we lost Tyrod. We're going to miss him. Yes, we're going to miss Nash. But this is Riley Van Poppel's year. Like, this is Elijah Judy's turn to step up. We've beefed up on the line. We've replaced where we've needed. And we've got a nice returning secondary. We've replaced at linebacker. Like, everywhere where we had concerns, I think we replaced pretty well. And we also upgraded at some of the most important positions on the O-line and out at receiver. Rayola could not beat man coverage very well last year. He passed for about 55% against man coverage, and he was 70 to 71% against zone coverage. You got Dane Key, Jacory, Hunter, and a reliable tight end room now. Like, yeah, I think the reason for optimism is huge, and blowing Cincinnati out is going to be basically like the proof of what we need to see there. So that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. Give me a two shot.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say it's the number one thing we get back on this. Like, anytime I start dreaming, is like, we just got to beat Cincinnati, and we do.
Yeah.
Like, if you pull an Ireland, Northwestern, all bets are off. The whole season falls apart. This becomes your worst case scenario for the rest of the season. I just have a really hard time believing that that's going to be the case here. I don't know. I just think there's the year 3 rule gives me confidence. The way Cincinnati is, like, I've been reading their message boards, nerd alert. But we're doing some depth here, doing some recon. They're not thrilled about their team. It just seems like this is a game that hopefully doesn't come out as a letdown, where I just always feel like Frost's team are unprepared for these types of moments. And so I think, you come out and win that game, it sets the tone for the entire season.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of Kool-Aid, I think of like my mind's spinning with possibilities. Beating Cincinnati is like, yeah, I mean, we should do that.
Yeah. What's it's like the Colorado last year was that game 2 or 3? What game was that?
Was game 2.
Yeah, game 2. I mean, that level of performance doesn't even have to be that dominant, but like that's a type of, hey, you come out strong and you start to show like what's potential in that first game. That's what like truly lights out the art of the possible. I think if you have a lot of the concerning things from last year, the interceptions and, the third down D and some other components, it's like, like that'll creeps in, which is also why this is the most fun time of year, because none of those thoughts are in your brain right now.
No, that they're wiped clean. But, and I will say, and this is probably a foray into question number 2. You want to take us there, Dave?
Yeah.
If we're 3-0, and I'm expecting and hoping that we sure are heading into Michigan, what if the Huskers finally break our 4-game losing streak against Michigan and start the season 4-0, including a massive home run win against a top 15 rival? What do you got on that, Honke? Where's the Kool-Aid going from there if we pull it off?
Well, I mean,
and I will say, can we pull it off?
Oh, sure. I mean, we can. I've always said, I say this most years. Well, I say it pretty much every year. The ceiling's 12-0 and the floor is 0-12. And, and what the coaches and the players do, you usually end up somewhere in between. Most teams don't go one or the other. Look, if we're 3-0 and we've got Michigan coming into town here at 2:30 p.m. for a national televised game in Memorial Stadium, I expect it to be a rocking place. I expect it to be a really difficult place to win at. Again, I'm not concerned at all about the roster that we have right now. There's so many guys that look like they can come off the bus and be the first guy off the bus, whether it's, Williams Nowari or Ochoa or whatever. I mean, we have so many different Keanu Davis. We've got guys in some of the offensive linemen, dudes that look like dudes. That's not an issue. That's not 2016 going to Ohio State when we're a top 10 team and we're 8-1 and we lost in overtime to Wisconsin the week before. And then we just get the doors blown off us at Ohio State 62-3. And after the game, all the media guys are telling us, well, you could tell it before the game. We walked on the field and we didn't look like them. We didn't have that kind of size. No, that's not an issue right now. No one's saying that. No one's saying that this team doesn't have that ability. Well, maybe you need to have an elite quarterback to play at that level. I don't know. I kind of think maybe we have that. Maybe we have elite coaching for that QB. Again, Glenn Thomas is a proven quarterback coach, and I think Holgerson's done enough to win some people over with that. Look, at some point the excuses have to stop, and the good football has to start. I think we're going to know a lot by halftime of the first game. Yeah. And I used the example of that 2021 season, the game at Illinois. Redcast Rob, Mac, and I went to that game. We were down 16-9 at half. 16-9, 7-point game. Rob asked us, he goes, do you think we can win? It's like, well, who cares? I mean, I care, but who cares of course we can win. We're down by 7, but it's what we saw that took us. That game should have been 21-0, and we're down by 7 because we fumble balls, with our quarterback who's in his 3rd or 4th year. We have penalties that took away turnovers. We have an All-American defensive back catch a ball in the end zone, throw it over his head for safety. You add all those things up and you go, everything that we wanted to see in the offseason, everything we were told in the offseason that we were going to see, we didn't see in 30 minutes. Why would I think it's just immediately going to get better the next 30 minutes? And why is it just going to get better the last 11 games? This is the Husker realism with an optimistic spin that I like to try to bring into what the Redcast is about. Is the reality is that in the first 30 minutes of this season against Cincinnati, I expect to see clean special teams because Mike Eckler is our special teams coach, and he's really damn good at it. I'd be really disappointed if I'm seeing us dropping punts and snapping balls over guys' heads. And I'd be really disappointed for walking on the field late and getting a delay of game coming out of a timeout, something we did against Ohio State in 2020. I'd be really disappointed in week 1 if that's happening, because this staff is as experienced. And I mean, this is a professional staff that we have right now. And Coach Rule has said it from the first moment of fall camp that they've worked on situational stuff the entire time. That Thursday night, tomorrow night, 2 nights from now, they're going to be doing a mock game on Thursday night in Lincoln here because they've got a bunch of players that have never played college football before. They're going to be in their first games, and they're going to be doing it at Arrowhead Stadium. So let's get these guys the experience. Let's get them into situational play. This is a different type of fall camp than what they had in year 1 and year 2. Everyone knows the expectations. I mean, so yes, we're 3-0 and Michigan comes to town. Yes, can we beat them? Absolutely, we can beat them. I would not want to be in Michigan's shoes if they're coming to Lincoln, Nebraska, and we're sitting at 3-0, and they're 2-1 with a loss to Oklahoma.
You're bringing up a lot of this is fun. This is a lot of fun, good and bad memories here of
there's plenty of bad. I mean, the realism we can go through.
It's trying to wipe it all clean one step at a time, and it is such a long and arduous process.
I hear you.
It's also where I truly, because I can be my whatever I want to be right now, and we can dream of playoffs and stuff, and we can what if all of this stuff happens? Because I do completely agree with you in that first quarter, the first half of the first game, or the first 2 games, which we haven't seen in the frost year. I mean, I'm just rattling off the onside kick at Northwestern of that's not a one play thing. That's like a full team meltdown game 1. Do you have any confidence in this team the rest of the season? The Georgia Southern loss. Do you have any confidence in this team the rest of the season? The Illinois game, the lack of confidence that was instilled in those seasons, game 1 was oh my God, why do we hype this team up the entire offseason? So I think that's where hopefully we solve that in Cincinnati. And by the time you get to Michigan, because I think that the optimism side of Michigan is Sharon Moore, their head coach, is out. They're coming in with a first-year quarterback in Bryce Underwood, who's never going to have experience in an environment like that. They're fresh off an Oklahoma game. They're a 5-loss team last year, of which, they finished the season extremely strong, beat Ohio State and then Alabama. But it's still a 5-loss team. They've lost most everybody from that championship game 2 years ago. So I think that's where, assuming we are able to put together some strong football heading into that game, to me it's the number 1 game that everyone's writing off as a loss. Of it's just Michigan, that's a loss. And I don't think a head coachless team on the road with a freshman quarterback, that the 5-loss team from last year. Like, there's just so many things that are there that I'm like, I don't know if that's it's as daunting as the Ohio State game last year, or even the Penn State game this year, that I think everyone sort of writes that one off as a like, ooh, I don't know about Michigan.
We have a starting tackle from Alabama last year that transferred here, and he hasn't won a position yet.
He's not going to play.
He might be our starting lineman. Yeah. I don't know. He might be starting the left tackle, but he also might not. We have a starting guard that was starting in the national championship a year ago with Notre Dame. But we also have linemen like Lutovsky and Evans that have been around for 5 years and have been developed in this program. And there's some continuity with a coach now, Raiola, that's been with them for 4 years. I mentioned that first game, how important it is to come out, and what you see in that first game, you'll see kind of throughout the year in so many cases. There's only so much you can improve from week 1 to week 2. Think of year 1 of Rule in that Minnesota game. And we had a whole lot of turnovers there in that first game. That didn't go away. And, but are we anywhere in that same boat right now? Or do you have any of the same concerns as a Husker fan? I'm not trying to do Kool-Aid even here. Do you have any of the same concerns right now of Raiola coming into year 2 at quarterback in this system, having the turnover plague that what we ran into with Sims and even Harburg in that regard in that year 1? Like, we talk about progress a lot on the Redcast. Has there been progress made? Did Tony White and that defense make progress over the last 2 years? And then from a roster perspective, did they do a good job of building up depth, building up guys behind him? We lost unexpectedly Mekhi Bear, and nobody wanted to see him go. He goes to Missouri and then ends up leaving Missouri. I don't know what the heck all happened there, but we lose him. And this staff is so prepared that they go and they bring in Watson Trent from Georgia Southern, and he's the Sun Belt Player of the Year. I mean, like, that's a roster management. That's professional guys in charge running this program that, okay, we'll have someone unexpectedly leave that we didn't want to see, and yet we're going to find ways to replace them. We're not just going to sit there and wait on it for 2 years for somebody else to come in. I think this roster matches up very well with everyone that's on our line or on our schedule here. Penn State is going to be brutal. I mean, that's a tough game no matter what. But this is a really good roster here. And this is a team that it's funny when you look at them last year. They went from getting blown out by an Indiana team that nobody thought was going to be any good, and then they take the Ohio State team, the national champion winner, down to the final seconds there. I don't know. I mean, I don't think talent's going to be an issue. I don't think coaching is going to be an issue. We have a chance. You get through Cincinnati that we don't leave Lincoln until mid-October. We have a chance to have some real momentum built by the time we're going on that 2-game road trip to Maryland and Minnesota. And, it's not that I would look past anybody. I wouldn't look past Houston Christian, for cripe's sakes. But I don't know. I like this. You give this team a little bit of momentum. You give Rule a little bit of momentum. I like where we're going.
A win against Michigan. I disagree with your ranking here, Dave, because I saw you had a three glass of Kool-Aid ranking if we beat Michigan. I think it's all 5. Yeah, that it's like, I mean, if you're 4-0 with the biggest win, maybe of like the biggest regular season win, close to within the last decade. I mean,
maybe Colorado huge. Last year, but yeah,
I can't. Like Colorado turned out to be Colorado, and they were like, okay,
no, fair.
But I think Michigan's going to be a 9-win team. Maybe like they should be solid.
Well, we haven't beat a 9-win team, I think, since 2016 when we beat Minnesota.
There you go. So the last decade, which is crazy. Yeah. That is like, that to me, this is all about just like taking the hype and making it all come to fruition. So that is a huge one for me.
So then I think, well, let's dream for a second. We're 4-0. Then you're going into
we're dreaming all night.
So then you're this is where when people tell you guys to temper it, I love it, Dave. I've always loved your take on it. You're like, I'm not a coach. I don't have to temper anything. I mean, we'll go 12-0. Who cares? I'm not in the locker room. I'm ecstatic about this.
In the locker room.
But put yourself in the locker room then. We're 4-0. And now you've got a bye week, and you have Michigan State coming to town, which is going to be, think of that kind of sellout, for that weekend where we're 4-0 and we're coming, all the good feels.
That's top where 25.
Top 25, top whatever they want to put us at that point. And that's where, again, great coaching and experienced coaching and a mature team that can take that success that this program has had, but they've never had individually as players, except for the ones that transferred here from Notre Dame and other schools that were winning. There has to be maturity in that locker room to take that 4-0 record and do something with it. We started 5-1 last year and we ended up 6-6. So, there's a maturity level that has to grow with that too. I always point to the coaches on this. I love this staff. I feel like we're going to be, if we're sitting at 4-0, we're going to have a staff in place that's going to have that team ready to play Michigan State and not Penn State 6 down the road. And then for all those fans that are telling you guys to cool your jets, yes, win one game at a time by all means. But I'm not stopping any of the hype. I'm not going to sit here and say we can't beat Michigan when they come here. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Yeah. You tell me. Yeah, I don't buy it.
We're keeping the momentum going. Shout out. We got 900 folks joining us right now. Shout out to everybody who's joining us. We're just taking a fun trip down the what if train. What if everything was awesome this year and we finally got everything that we deserve as Husker fans after decades of just depression. So we're 4-0, but here's the question, another one, and this is a fun one to think about. Mm-hmm. So the question I've written is, what if Dylan Raiola has an explosive year 2 jump and develops into a legitimate Heisman candidate? How realistic is that? Let's more talk through like the emotional side of it, because I think that's fun. But here's where we talked about this on previous podcasts. I think what's been interesting about Raiola is he came in unbelievably, highly rated, number 1 overall QB, like the best, quarterback in a generation. That most of all last season's hype was around him. And I think it's been tempered a little bit locally and nationally. I think like guys like DJ Lagway, that he's kind of like the unknown there. Everybody's super excited about him. March Manning. I mean, they've got a lot of folks have realized like the 38th best quarterback in the country. He's like the 8th best quarterback in the Big Ten behind Drew Aller and, a lot of folks. So I think thinking through this of like, what if he actually plays up to the potential we think?
Right.
What if he truly is like, shows up and is like, oh my God, like he's the best player on the field. And it has that level of like, you walk into the game and you're like, it doesn't matter what happens. He's going to put on a Cam Newton type performance or a Vince Young type performance, he's a different type of quarterback, but like a truly, he is going to take over the game type situation and becomes a legitimate Heisman candidate. What do we think about that one? How much Kool-Aid we need for that to happen?
Hit me. Give it to me right now, bartender. Here's where I'm going to start with some numbers on this, because I like numbers, and I like numbers to inspire even further hope. The last 4 games under Holgorsen, Raiola had 22 completions, 22, 28, and 27. In the first 9 games of the season, he only had over 20 completions 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So the last 4 games, he went 71%, 73.7%, 68.8%, 73.3%. He clearly knows how to play to his strengths, and that's in 1 week of practice with Raiola and the team. I have to think that there is a jump coming. Like, I have to think that that those last couple games of the year are what we would project for his sophomore year. The only thing that he needs to be getting better at is he's got to beat man coverage better, and he's got to throw more touchdowns and turn the ball over less. He went 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in those last 4 games, but his accuracy was the best that it had been all season. Like, he immediately did bounce back. So if you start projecting those numbers out and you add a couple more touchdowns, he put us in positions to win. We need a rushing game beside him. We need these receivers to be the receivers that we recruited. We need Dane Key to be that 2nd round projected NFL pick. And if that's the case, he's got the even better weapons this year. He's got an even better O-line to work with this year. And he's hypothetically got the best offensive coordinator that has ever lived. Like, what if? Then we start winning every single game we're projected to win. And that puts us in 9 to 10 win range right there.
Honke, what do you got?
Yeah. Well, I would tend to say that jump that you're wanting to see the quarterback make, I think he was already making it last year. I've always fallen the minority of this conversation where I could make a very good argument that last year we could have won a couple of more games if he wasn't playing as a true freshman. That Harburg coming back and having a year under his belt, and I could be completely wrong. Some people hear me say that and they throw something at the wall and say, "Are you kidding me?" But I wanted a quarterback last year that maybe had a little bit more mobility with his legs. Reality is, as you're living through that, as you're living through the pains of a true freshman, it is tough from week to week to week. But when you look back on it aggregately at the end of the season, we made the bowl game. We got that monkey off the back. We win the bowl game on top of that. And if I saw anything last year, you go back and you watch some of the film of even Rule saying this in week 1 and week 2. And I think he's trying to pump up his quarterback at the time, but he's like, we'll throw the whole playbook at this kid. He is so ready. He's not your typical true freshman. We'll throw everything at it. I didn't think that was a good idea at that time. Yeah. I remember hearing that. I mean, that's not something with a true freshman. And quite honestly, Holgerson comes in and right away says, yeah, there's a full playbook that this guy has. And we're going to tear out about half of that. We're going to make sure he does the things and does them well. Now, one of your viewers here, he wrote something about the physical differences that you've seen in Raiola. And one of the things I wanted to see more out of him a year ago, that the reason I would bring up Harburg was that you want to see some of the legs of the quarterback being able to extend plays, bootleg out, and you started to see that more as the season went on, the long scramble they had against Ohio State. And now you just physically look at him right now. I'm really interested to see what he does with his legs a couple times a game. This isn't going to be Tommy Frazier. No one's asking him to be that. He's not, supposed to be Adrian Martinez, but can he extend some plays with his legs, extend some drives with that? I expect to see the accuracy improve. I expect a better receiver room. If I was disappointed with any one position group all of last season, it was the wide receivers, starting with their blocking and then finishing with some of the drop passes that we saw them have too. And so I think you get better play out of the wide receiver room and you get that jump, that year 1 to year 2 jump with Raiola. And I don't have any I don't have any hesitation. Even now, all the play time that he got last year, which was frustrating for me at times to watch when I thought maybe we could be doing a little better, doesn't matter. I'm glad now that he got every one of those snaps.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I mean, that set us up, I think, to have a great sophomore season with him.
Yeah, I think it's I just keep coming back to like, okay, can he turn into the guy that you're like, every third down, you're like, yeah, just it's fine. It's fine. It's third and 4. He'll just be able to he'll be able to throw a quick out route. No big deal. That level of trust that I think when you look across the country or you look at like previous Heisman winners or any of these guys, it was always just like, this guy is quite literally impossible to stop. And I think he's got that potential with the better receivers. He doesn't quite have, the speed or agility of some of these other previous QBs, but I look at any of these guys that, have been a top quarterback the last handful of years. He's got the accuracy, the arm, the size, the ability to do that. And he clearly did it in high school. And he did it. He's got a lot more experience than others. I just think, I think that's what, if I were to compare last year, the season to where we were like, in August of last year, talking about like, the infinity potential of him, I would say that's the area where you're like, you kind of need to look at him and be like, okay, he's going to put the team on his back. And to have that kind of next level tier that I think he's got. And I don't know if it's going to be sophomore year. Hopefully he stays for junior year type thing. But I think that's where that's the what if scenario to me of like, if you're walking in there and he's got that dog in him every single week and you can't stop him, it's like, we will truly be unstoppable.
Yeah, Dave, this gets back to, for me, the coaching piece of it is that working with Glenn Thomas now for year 2, and obviously the changes that they made under Holgerson and the improvement, Andrew, that you talked about in the last 4 games of last season that you immediately saw. That's the thing that if the coaching is there to develop these guys, every year, Dave, you post about the stars on that we have on offense. Like it's 5 now, it's 5-star quarterback and it's 4-star running backs and 4-star wide receivers and 4-star tight ends that could have gone to Alabama and all.
He's the best quarterback to ever step foot on campus. Like
on day one, the most heralded. From an NFL standpoint. From an NFL, I mean, the last 5-star quarterback we would have had step on campus was probably Frazier, and he didn't have the NFL stock for it, obviously.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're, as Husker fans, we have the PTSD of the last 10 years, but the reality is you could flip this around and say, okay, fast forward to when we're 12-0. and you look back at the beginning of the season and go, what were we worried about? We've got a 5-star quarterback. We've got Holgerson right now. Now, I know you don't say that right now. I get it. But I'm just saying, if we go 11-1 or something like that, then at the end of the season, then the whole narrative is, well, you kind of saw it come into the season. It was pretty obvious that, this and that. You hear that crap all the time. Unless you're Indiana last year. And so it's just, there's a lot of talent on this team. I think that Riley's going to have a good year? Yeah, I think he's going to have a really good season. Knock on wood, we get lucky and injuries and things like that you can't ever predict. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think that Riley's going to have a really good season. I think he's going to play up to the potential of what a 5-star quarterback in year 2 is. I think he has a much improved receiving core around him right now, much improved offensive line. I'm concerned with the depth at the running back spot, but I'm concerned based solely off of, I just don't know the guys behind it. But then you read things, that Mekhi Nelson or, someone at Mosey's going to be the next Heisman winner in the backfield, whatever. So, so we've got bodies back there too, but Emmett Johnson is a known quantity. And I think that's as good of a starting running back as we've had since that trio of Rex and Amir and Halou. And so, I mean, I don't know. I guess.
It's all. I think I guess that's where I'm like, and now I just pulled up because I was curious. I was like, the last 10 Heisman winners were like, I think that's the level of potential excitement he's got. He's got the raw power and the size to be a Jaden Daniels, a Caleb Williams, and Bryce. I mean, Bryce Young is smaller, and some of these guys had better weapons. Joe Burrow had some of the best weapons of all time. Sure. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield. But as when you watch their games, you were just like, yeah, I mean, it's Joe Burrow. Like, what are you going to do? He releases the ball within 0.7 seconds. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable under pressure. I see Raiola, and like all the film I saw in high school was just like, he's got that potential to be one of these guys. He just didn't quite get there. And I think there's offensive line concerns. I think there's wide receiver concerns that hopefully we've at least fixed or improved. So you start to see a little bit more of those flashes.
Well, and using Burrow as an example, that took him 5 years to get to that point.
Well, and it was year 2 LSU too.
Year 2 at LSU. Yeah. Before the transfer portal, he only got to play year 2 because he graduated from Ohio State, which allowed him even to have a second season. If he only plays 1 year at LSU, he's a very not memorable player in college football history. But
that's a good point. A lot of those guys too.
That level of development. How patient are schools anymore to wait 5 years for a guy to do that? But that was pretty amazing what he put together there. Raio's in year 2.
Yeah, it's a good point because I mean Baker was a transfer, Kyler was a transfer, Bryce was not a transfer, Caleb Williams was a transfer, Jaden Daniels was a transfer. All transfers in their 3rd, 4th, or 5th season. So we are expecting a lot in that sophomore campaign. But I think that's kind of what you're like. That's what I think the expectation is that, and I think the fact that he wasn't there is why I think that's tempered some, and where I feel like the DJ Lagways of the world and the Arch Mannings of the world have taken up, to me, like all the national spotlight on the QBs, where I felt like he was up there in the top 5 to 10 quarterbacks last year. So it's kind of interesting.
Oh, did you think Raiola was a top 5 quarterback, top 5-10 quarterback last year? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying coming into the season now in August, we were like, well, we have the number 1 quarterback in the country. Like, it was almost like, to me, like the Arch Manning type hype of like, you haven't really seen Arch Manning, so you didn't really know. So they're like, yeah, he's going to be the best ever. And you're like, well, he didn't beat out a 6th rounder last year. So, he's not that good. Like if he was that good, wouldn't he beat out a 6th rounder? Like Quinn Ewers isn't even going to play in the NFL. So that's my Raiola chat. Two areas we can kind of jump to. We can mix these together because we're going slow through my 10, but we don't need to get to all 10 of these. The 2 big things that I think are in the what if factor is, what if the revamped receiving core led by Dane Key actually becomes elite at winning these one-on-one battles to save, to essentially help out Raiola. And the second being around the offensive line of what if bringing in the Elijah Pritchett's and, a lot of the new guys that have come in turns this into a Joe Moore level offensive line, right? So like that, what if this team actually not just like hits our expectations, but becomes the like, whoa, actually this offensive line is like elite level.
Yeah, it needs to be. Andrew, do you want to go?
Sure. I mean, I would just say, like, starting with Dane Key, the best players on your team, you expect them to make everybody better around them. And so Dane Key, if he lives up to the hype, and you're going to see that in these first 3 games for sure. Like, I hope he's out by halftime that we're up by so many, but I hope in those first halves, like, if we see Dane Key play like he can, I mean, it's just, there's so many like quarterbacks in the NFL that you think that are like tied to those receivers, like Burrow and Chase, Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. There's those just like tandem guys that go together, that they make each other better. They're on the same page. Dane Key moved in with Rayola. Love that storyline in the background. He just
They said Jordan Westerkamp, Tommy Armstrong story.
I mean, they can't know each other any better, apparently. So I like that. If Key plays up to the hype, and we're going to definitely see it against Michigan, that is like, we're getting to big gulp sizes of Kool-Aid for sure. So that's a 4-glasser. And then for the O-line, also 4 glasses. I've got it at, just because we have not seen reliable O-line play for the last decade, and it's been like the bane of our existence on offense. It just really has. Like, we haven't had a dominant running game. When we've had shoddy quarterback play, but the O-line obviously is important for Rayola and his development and keeping him safe. But secondly, if we don't have great running back depth, then they better be opening some holes for whoever is playing running back. Like, if they do, then we're going to be able to match up with like most of these teams. We're starting to look more like a Big Ten team, and Rocco Spindler has said it. Like, you guys are a very talented team. I just came from a championship contender, and you guys look the same way. I love comments like that. And the fact that, Elijah Pritchett is still battling it out. We still have, Prohaska there. We just got Corcoran back from injury. Like, these are 5th-year guys that have been in and around college football for a long time. So they have the ability. And if I'm choosing between those 2 points, though, I think everybody in Husker Nation wants the pipeline back so badly.
Yeah, I mean, the pipeline right here, pipeline jerky and everything. We need to be good. We need to be great, elite at the O-line again. I mean, that if we're going to be successful, not just in the Big Ten, but just as Nebraska, it has to start in the trenches there. We still have the most All-Americans and Outland Award winners of any program in the country on the O-line, and we haven't had anyone do that for 10, 15 years. I mean, that's even more impressive how that stat has withheld the test of time there, but that needs to end too. That drought. We need players that are going to be All-Americans. We need players that are going to be going pro on the O-line. As far as the wide receiver group, I mean, talking about K, but just in general, I'll go back to last year. I'm usually a defender a little bit of the O-line. A lot of times they get called out for everything that doesn't go right. And I saw, last year, the wide receiving core was so bad at blocking in those first 4, 5, 6 games, screen passes that should have gone for 40 yards getting tackled in the backfield because starters are whiffing on it. And then run plays that would get, tackled in the backfield. That's not an O-line issue. That was a receiving core issue. There was one position coach that was changed by Holgerson on the offense. We saw what it was. We saw they brought in a guy that he has plenty of experience that he's worked with at Houston in the past that knows the expectations of what Holgerson wants this offense to do. And then what does that guy do? He goes and brings the best receiver that he was coaching at Kentucky with him. We'll see what Hunter does and adds to the game. Mills is a talented player coming in here, but Barney coming back. I also like talking about guys that we had in the past. Bonner. Yeah. Bonner brings his physicality, what he brings to so many different levels. There.
God, I love that guy.
I mean, it's just, to me, that I just see improvement across the board. That's what I see right now at those positions. And I hope, to your point there, Dave, I hope that K really exceeds and at least matches the level of what we expect him to come in, like to truly be that number one receiver, a guy that's going to be, touching the 1,000-yard mark kind of thing. That's what a Stanley Morgan did. That's what Trey Palmer was able to do in 1 year. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see a K be able to be close to that level, 700-800 yards, whatever it is, 40, 45 catches, but big time ones, making the big catch at a big moment, getting up high and catching a touchdown pass. We had drops last year that, when Raiola needed the help, Raiola would make a bad throw here or there too. I'm not absolving him of that, but he threw some good ones that got dropped. And those are the things that they have to be better, and they have to be better right away. First game.
Yeah, I rewatched the Colorado game a couple days ago, which again, just how I spend my time. Don't make fun of me, but when they put those like on YouTube 40 minutes thing, which was like, yeah, that's a great way to spend 40 minutes. But I'd forgotten in that game, even on one of the touchdown drives, there was like multiple dropped touchdown passes that, and I'm going to forget who dropped. Nair dropped one of them. And one of them was like on a wheel route out of the backfield. It was Nair on one of them, but then there's a wheel route out of the backfield that, now I forget who it was, but it was like wide open by like 20 yards. I totally forgot about it because we ended up scoring, but it could have been like absolute disaster. So I think that they're all one and the same. If the line plays well, if the wide receivers step up, if they're much better and upgraded from last year, which is hard not to be, the offensive play calling is better with Holgerson. For those who are joining us, this is we got 1,100 folks that are live with us right now on a Tuesday night as we just guzzle Kool-Aid. We're basically in dream mode scenario. Say the offensive line plays like Joe Moore level offensive line. Say Rail is playing like a Heisman contender, and the wide receivers are dialed in. Things are looking good, but let's shift to one last component here. The one that's maybe not talked about as much, or decently talked about a lot locally, but I would say the national guys are sort of glossing over it. The loss of Tony White to Florida State. So the what if question is, what if the Huskers, where'd it go? What if the defense, despite the significant personnel losses, defies expectations and remains a top 25 unit, despite losing Tony White, despite losing 8 of the 10 most valuable defenders from last year? How do we feel about the potential that this D remains as strong as they were last year, which is, as we remember, they kept us in most games last year. I loved a lot of what Tony White did. I loved everything except for him leaving and taking a lateral coordinator move. Let's talk about the D. What do we got?
I mean, they won us games last year, and this year I am hopeful that they just need to keep us in the game long enough that the offense wins it. Last year, I mean, we only threw 13 touchdown passes last year, for God's sake. That's just not enough, for your offense to be going out and run and gun and winning you games, especially in that fourth quarter. So the defense, I don't know that it has to be as good. Like, say we add 3 points per game given up, that's we don't want to go that direction. But if the offense adds a touchdown per game, which I'm expecting that we can, we still come out 1-2 wins better, right there. So I would like us to be top 25. I think that we can. I don't feel fully confident that we are going to be as good, just with the question marks on the defensive line. However, my Kool-Aid take is I think we're going to get after the quarterback more. I think Nwaneri is going to come along by the end of the season, and he is the highest ranked recruit that we have had probably ever. He is an NFL style defender that is going to be an absolute aggressor on the defensive line. We have Keona Davis across from him. He's also going to get after the quarterback, and John Butler has said he wants to go after the quarterback more. He wants to have a little bit more aggressive schemes than Tony White did. And there was a lot of times when that was maybe one of his only, I guess if you're being nitpicky about the defenses, they just maybe weren't aggressive enough at times last year. Like those third down, clutch downs and stuff, sitting back and kind of sending Tyrod and sending Nash and hoping that they collapse the pocket and make something happen. But now you've got a stable of linebackers out there, and that's my optimistic take, is that I don't know that we had anyone as good as Desan McCullough last year. We had John Bullock making plays, and he was fantastic. But Desan is next level. 5-star player right there. Marcus Watson Trent, like you've got the Conference USA Player of the Year. He's going to rake in tackles. He's going to be a tackle machine. I mean, you have many reasons for optimism, and it's the shiny new toys, and then it's also the development of Sierra Wright into an All Big Ten corner. It's Deshaun Singleton sticking around for one more year. Could have gone NFL. Still will, but you've still got him in your defense as well. I mean, these are names that you like to see these guys around a little bit more. You like your Marcus Buford's. Hartzog hopefully is not as much of a liability. Phil Snow is around, and he made Baylor's defense click back with Rule back in the day. So there's plenty of reasons for optimism. I don't know if I'm fully confident. The only reason I'd put 2 glasses of Kool-Aid on there is because I'm expecting them to be just slightly downgraded from last year's unit overall.
Yeah, our mutual friend Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews. That was a concern that he had, and listed that, and that gets into his analytics of replacing a coordinator. And Tony White was a successful coordinator for the last 2 years. You have a moment last year like the Indiana game that is an outlier. That was a 56-7 just disaster of a game. I don't know if you put that on offense, defense, the whole team, everything. But short of that, the defense kept us in most every game. Where I'd say that where I thought we never really fulfilled the promise of the last 2 years under White was in the turnovers. We never garnered enough turnovers. We never did enough to get the ball back, and we were certainly giving it away, especially in that first season. We didn't do enough to get the ball back. And so, to your point, Andrew, now we have Butler in here. We want to call a more aggressive defense. And what I will always say is you have to earn your right to be aggressive. If you're not stopping the run on first and second down, then it doesn't really matter how much you want to go after the quarterback on 3rd and 1. So you've got to earn that right. And that's the number one challenge right there. And that's what Nash and Ty gave you, was a pretty consistent first and second down defense that it was going to be hard to run on us. We're going to put you in 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 9s, and then we should be able to get after you. Now, to your point, Andrew, I think we have way better players right now, whether it is new guys like McCullough or then you have Shavers back, and you've got McGay, and you've got some real studs in there that are getting developed. I think if we can find ourselves in some of these 3rd and 8s and 9s, that we have the ability, we have the talent to be able to get after these guys. So it's really going to be about how does first down, second down defense put us in position to be aggressive on 3rd down. Yeah. And you mentioned the name, I think you said it earlier, Andrew, but Riley Van Poppel, he's just a good example of old school, here we are, just bring a guy in from the portal, or just you find your next starter. No, here's a guy who's in year 3. He redshirted his sophomore year. He played 4 games, but you can see him getting bigger and getting developed. And now this is the time for him to step up and take over, a game. I mean, and take over that spot. And we love what Nash did, and we love what Ty did. And at the end of the day, kind of what you were saying about the Texas quarterback, taking over for a 6th-round guy. I mean, as much as I love Nash and Ty, one went undrafted and the other one, Ty, went way too late. Right. He should have probably been a 2nd or 3rd rounder, but he didn't even go that early. And I know Mac, we've had Mac on the show, and Mac kind of just said it a couple times. He's like, we can't sweat losing 4th round, 5th round guys and undrafted players. And I don't mean that in a negative way towards Nash and Ty. I appreciate so much what those guys did for so long, but we're not replacing top 10 players there. Yeah. And other schools replaced D1, division or round 1, D lineman. We've got to be able to do that too. And so Van Poppel and all the guys that we just mentioned there, there's plenty of guys there to pick from. We've got, I'm excited to see Judy here, I think in year 3, and he's up to 295. And even that Jalen George that came in here from East Tennessee State, he's up to 295. Yeah. And we, my gosh, Achoya, and we've got plenty of players to choose from. The depth is going to be there, but can we get 2 guys that are going to be studs that can step up and be consistent on first and second down?
Yeah. Love it. Vibes are high for the boys. Vibes are high.
Am I supposed to be saying a star? I haven't been. I guess 5-star there. Yeah. So
can you? Yeah. How much Kool-Aid do you need for that one?
5 cups. Keona Davis was the other one I was trying to think.
All of it. So. All right. Yes. Here's. I want to wrap this up with our last ones. For those just joining us, we've been kind of running through all the best, most delicious Kool-Aid scenarios we could possibly dream up. That include blowing out Cincinnati, beating Michigan, having Royola as a Heisman potential level player, the offensive line living up to the highest level of billing possible, all the pieces coming together with the wide receivers, the offensive line, of the defense. So with all of the this is our last one here. So this is full Kool-Aid, and I just want us to like bathe in some of this. That all the pieces come together, and Nebraska lives up to the hype of where we started this show. We started the show talking about how Josh Pate thinks we're going to make the playoff, how Greg McElroy thinks we're going to win the SEC, how all of these national writers look at our schedule. And I watched them. I watched the Josh Pate show. I've watched Greg McElroy run through it. Like it's interesting to watch them run through the schedule, and they're just like, all right, so they beat Cincinnati. They'll beat, maybe they beat Michigan, maybe they don't. They'll beat Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, probably beat USC, UCLA. They'll struggle with Penn State, and they'll beat Iowa. And you're just like, they kind of rattle through it. Like it's like, what if we actually get that early season momentum? What if we do start to get the momentum? The players do start to believe. We finally win the one-score games. We finally win the games we think we can. And we're knocking on the door here playing very meaningful football in November. Well, I mean, what happens? Like I said, I'm going to go broke. I got to start saving for $20,000 worth of playoff tickets. But
what happens is I don't know. I think you just die. I guess you just like you're too happy.
It's so foreign that
you can't conceptualize.
You're allowed to think about it though. You're allowed to dream.
Yeah, my fundraising job becomes a lot easier. I can tell you that. And the reality is that I think it's what we expect though. I mean, it's what we should expect out of year 3 of Rule. This is where the trajectory we're pointing to. I always hesitate worrying about the schedule in some ways. I mean, short of like just having, we know when you have a crazy schedule, like what Wisconsin has this year, that's nuts on a different level. But short of that, like trying to predict, is Michigan State going to be good or bad? And can we be, I just want to see us be good. I want to see us not do the things that we talked about at the beginning of the show that we've done for years that have killed us in games. I just want to see us not do that and give us a fair shot to win these games. And I think we will. But I'll tell you what, Redcast Nation, every year we do a game by game Twitter poll, and we had over 10,000 votes on this one here this year. And every year, we'll end up 10-2, 11-1. This year was 11-1. We're going to lose one game. We're going to lose at Penn State.
Just Penn State.
Every other game, we're going to win. The closest one, I think, was USC, and we won it like 53 to 43%. Michigan and at Minnesota, 68-32.
Wow.
Iowa, who has beaten us 9 out of 10 seasons, we're going to beat Iowa 90-10%, according to Redcast Nation. All those votes. At the end of the day, I think there's an expectation that this is what you want to see in year 3 of Rule, that you expect to see in it. And I think that's some of what we're seeing from the national folks here. There's an actual respect to our coach for what he has done previously, that they expect to see this. And I don't disrespect anyone on that schedule. We can lose to any one of those teams on it. But I also think that we can beat everybody on that schedule. I think that the ceiling is 12-0 and the floor is 0-12. And that's it.
Yeah, and I think that's where, I appreciate you're like a process guy, and you're like all the Twitter followers that tell me to calm down. But I think that there's, it's like, yeah, you want to see it on the field. Obviously, I want to see it on the field too. But also, as you look at these schedule, like every schedule I've looked at, literally since we joined the Big Ten, I've been like, yeah, we shouldn't lose to Minnesota, and we have for 5 straight years. Like It doesn't, I look at Maryland, like we'll never lose to Maryland, we'll never lose to UCLA. We lose to these teams that I'm like, it blows my mind. Like literally since we joined the Big Ten, I've just thought we were going to beat all these teams. So I still probably have that like 2010 mindset of like, yeah, whatever. It's Minnesota. Who cares? Which is, problemsome, but also that this schedule in like, we don't have that, was exactly like I said, we don't have the Wisconsin schedule. We're not playing Oregon. We're not playing Ohio State. We're not playing, I would have liked to play Wisconsin right now. I think they stink. But I think in years past when we had that level of a gauntlet, you're like, obviously this is 8-4 at the ceiling,
right?
But this isn't that. This is Maryland. This is, Akron and HCU and Cincinnati and Michigan State and like a USC team that's not that good and a UCLA team that's really not that good. Like that to me, like when you start to stack those, and I think that's what changes for me from like July 31st, like without a spring game, I had zero buzz. And then we come into the year and like first day of fall camp, I'm like getting back. And then you start looking at the schedule. I'm like, wait a second. None of these teams are any good.
I just, and Dave, maybe that you and I differ a little bit. I just don't pay attention to the schedule. I don't. Last year, Indiana is going to be the easiest team to roll over. And I mentioned I went to Ohio State a couple weeks ago for that conference. A year ago, the conference was at Indiana. We got a full tour of Indiana Stadium before Signetti even plays one game. And they gave us a tour, and the guy says, all this guy does is win everywhere he goes. And I'm like, who cares? It's Indiana. We were all laughing about it. Guy ends up going 11-1, beating Michigan, beating Washington, two teams that played in the previous year's national.
Why can't that be us though, Honke? You know,
he absolutely can, and it has nothing to do with the opponent. I mean, like I said, Indiana goes into that season. There's no reason to have any confidence, but that head coach had a crazy amount of it. Brings in the right guys. They didn't care. Nothing looked on the schedule going into that season a year ago that Indiana's going to go 11-1 or 10-2 or anything. They end up in the playoff. We legitimately have the hype that we could go into the playoff, and I'm not going to do anything to temper any of that hype. We've got to play good football, and we've got to play good football long before we ever play Michigan and long before we ever play USC and those teams that might be the ones that can stand up against us. We've got to start playing good football in half one against Cincinnati.
Okay, but since we're in Dreamland.
I'm the wrong guy to have on the show with. I'm telling you, I'm not getting the Kool-Aid drinks.
Since we're in Dreamland, and say we're hosting a playoff game. Actually, let's make it even more fun. We're not hosting. Will you come to our tailgate that we host at? I saw one that has us playing Notre Dame. Will you come to our tailgate at Notre Dame in South Bend, December 8th?
Why would it be there?
Well, that was the projection.
It's going to be
the projection was Notre Dame versus Nebraska.
I will fly. I will drive. I will do whatever it takes to get to. If Nebraska's playing in the playoffs, yes, Honke and the Redcasts, we will find a way to be there. And Dave and Andrew, there's nobody I would rather be tailgating with you two guys, and nobody more. I will say this: no more deserving than Husk guys and the Redcasts. I'll throw us in there too. No fans more deserving than what all of us.
We've been doing this for 15 years, and we have not been right once. We have not been right one, like literally not one time have we been right.
I don't see how your projection of 10-2 is wrong though. No one's given me a reason. Josh Pate certainly hasn't.
I mean,
and if we're 10-2, how about that? If we're 10-2, are we in the playoffs?
There we go. Now we're dreaming, Honke. Look at now we're getting
a win over Michigan or USC on there. I actually think so. Yeah.
Well, it has to be. If you're 10-2, that means you have a win over either a Michigan or
Penn State, Michigan, or USC at least.
You got to have some help from them. Yeah. Like it's got to be like a Michigan win and Michigan doesn't finish 7-5. It's like it's got to be like a 9-3 Michigan. And
this is where perception is a legitimate thing. The way that the playoff system works. Yeah, you've got a 9-3 Alabama and a 10-2 Nebraska right now. Who gets in? And those are good problems for us to be worried about if that's how the season plays out.
And that's what has killed me about being running this platform. And you can appreciate it too, Honke, because you've been doing it for just as long as us. I just want to have meaningful conversations in November, and we just haven't had that in 10 years. Literally, I laugh about I was looking at our last few years of our analytics and stuff of we dramatically pick up followers, views, impressions right now in August, and then September it hits this fever pitch. Last year at Colorado, we were picking up 1,000 followers a week. It was unbelievable. It was almost nightly we were getting hundreds and hundreds, thousands of followers.
Yeah.
And then the second loss, it just craters. Pipeline jerky. People are sending us death threats and hate mail and all sorts of stuff. What are you doing? The offensive line stinks. All this stuff. I'm just get me to November. I can't even get out of September.
We are such a relevant program that hasn't played relevant football in November, and it drives me nuts. Yeah. I mean, we are a national power of blue blood. We drive eyeballs. We TV sets. Tens of thousands of people will show up at Arrowhead to watch this game. All those things. The power of Husker Nation is real and true, and we have just seen nothing when it's come to November football since 2016, and even that.
Give me that. I even feel for playing a relevant football and you screw up a game in November. and we know whatever we get knocked out, we're 8-4, 9-3, whatever it ends up being. At least we're like in the conversation, like this whole back against our wall trying to win a bowl game bid is like so depressing.
Yeah,
I would say that's truly what most fans like are actually hoping for, because they're going to take this conversation and they're going to cut everything in half and say, okay, they're talking title games, but that's okay. Like, honestly, of course you aim for the stars and you fall amongst the whatever other stars, however that phrase goes. You want to set your sights high as can possibly be, and truly, I think our ceiling is it's 12-0 until you'll prove it otherwise. I got you there. I don't know that we can beat Penn State, but I see every single other team on the schedule. If we are truly doing all of these things, like if our O-line, like all of these are what if scenarios, and if they all culminate in a top 25 defense, then you're definitely going to have a top 25 offense. If you have a Joe Moore winning offensive line, you're definitely going to have a top 25 offense. If Rayola's a Heisman candidate, you're definitely going to have a top 10 offense if Dane Key and Rayola are firing on all cylinders. Then you're going to be a playoff team. Like that is the true fact of it, that if these things come together and we have top 25 talent on campus, then at this point, it all comes down to coaching and schemes. And if we do it right and we execute their schemes right, then like you win the games you're favored to win. Like that's the difference between what's so funny to me is when we look at like Penn State's schedule this year, right? Like, and Penn State has had their own issues in clutch games and stuff, but we look at their schedule and no one's thinking twice about like Penn State versus, whoever that they're favored by, 13.5 on. They're not like, no, it's not like you don't think twice about those games. And that used to be the case under Pelini a lot of the time. It was like, we'd go 9-3 and it was like, you didn't really think too much about like losing to Illinois or something. And it was, the sky was falling if you did. And so, you go 8-4 is kind of like your basement if all of these things are clicking. And the ceiling is, oh, baby, start saving up. Start saving the money.
The people that argue, or the people that would watch this and say, oh my gosh, give me a break with the ceiling and floor talk. They're the same ones that wouldn't have given Indiana 11 game ceiling last year. And they're the same ones that would have, ranked FSU in the top 10 to begin the year. Who cares? Right. I mean, like, the preseason hype really is just that. It's what do we see once the ball gets kicked off? And what I'll tell you is, I don't look at 8-4 right now. If someone says, well, would you take 8-4 with 4 close losses? I don't take that as progress right now, because I've seen plenty of close losses. If progress is more close losses, I'm sorry. The reason we've had close losses is because we were physically talented enough and gifted enough to keep up with any of the teams we were playing, whether that's the national championship Ohio State team a year ago or teams that we should have blown out. But it wasn't a talent issue in those cases. We played close games because we had -4 turnover margins, and we had over 100 more penalty yards against them, even if we would out yard a team by 150 yards. Stop doing that, and we're not playing close games. Out yard a team by 150 yards or 200 yards and win the turnover margin, and now you're winning by 21 points. And so then, no, I don't take 8-4 with 4 close losses. Start winning those games and be comfortable.
We got Honke fired up.
Yeah,
Honke's dialed in, folks.
I mean, Colorado last year was a great example of that. We played a really lousy second half, but it's hard to lose a game when you're up 28-0 at half. And so at the end of the day, I want to see we finally got the bowl thing out of the way last year. Let's get the close game thing out of the way. Yeah. Like to go back to your very first question there, Dave. Yes, I expect a double-digit win against Cincinnati.
Dang. God, it took us an hour. Now Honke's cooking.
It takes me a little while at this age. My God. 500 episodes under my belt. It just takes me a little while to get going sometimes. But I expect us to be up double digits at half, and I expect us to be in control of that game. Ooh. And they've got a good quarterback, a big quarterback. He's going to be someone that we're going to have to be able to tackle well against him and everything. But I'll tell you what, I think that this team is going to come together, and it's going to come together quick. And so then you're just building momentum as the season goes along.
Honke, finishing on a high note here.
All
We've been
5
going for
glasses.
almost an hour and a half. This is great stuff. Thanks to the 1,400 folks who've been listening. Let's go some. You guys do parting thoughts. I like that you get parting shots. I like that you guys do that. Let's wrap this thing up. We've done what if scenarios. We've got some absolutely awesome ones that we ran through the full list about what if we blow out Cincinnati, what if we beat Michigan, what if we get the hype train rolling, what if things move all the way through to Raiola being up for Heisman level. We got a Joe Moore offensive line. The defense is playing like the black shirts. We're hitting the playoff. What kind of parting thought you got? Where do you think we're finishing this thing, Honke?
Well, if all those things happen, yeah, we are 12-0. We're going to hit the ceiling and we're going to be in the playoff. I mean, if everything we just said happens, yeah, I think it's going to be. This is going to be this. I'll just say it this way: this is the best season that we're going to see under the 10 years that the Redcast has been around. I have no qualms or question marks about that. I feel very confident coming into this season for all the right reasons. A lot of things have to come together, injuries and things that you need a little bit of luck along the way to happen. But I feel that the year three history of Rule, this staff that he's put together, this roster and the depth they've built on this roster, I think that this is going to be a special season. I think it's going to be a year that brings Nebraska football back to relevancy in November. And so, what that record looks like, I'll just say it's going to be a hell of a lot better than anything we've seen in a while.
Bang.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew, party shot. What do we got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm throwing up the banner. I think so much attention has been thrown at Raiola and Dane Key and all the new transfers and everything. Emmett Johnson made a big decision to come back. Allegedly, I don't know if he was ever leaving, but he briefly there, his name was out there as he was heading to the transfer portal. He comes back, and his usage and his utilization under Holgerson was fantastic. And my parting shot is an extra Kool-Aid shot for the road. This is the one more bartender hit me, and they're saying you've been overserved tonight. Emmett Johnson ends up third team All Big Ten, or maybe an honorable mention, because he ended up with 39 receptions total on the year. 23 of those were in the last 4 games. So he's receiving the ball out of the backfield. I think he's going to end up between 20 and 25 touches a game. That gets him around 125-ish plus all-purpose yards per game. That's going to put him in potentially like the top 10 seasons in Husker history if he keeps on a pace like that. He could be electric for us and absolutely huge. And if he avoids injuries and if he can handle the workload, he could make the offense click in a whole new dimension that people just aren't really ready for. And that's that's the shot I'm taking, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. Wrapping things up. I mean, I legitimately was probably thinking we were like 6-6 team July 31st. I'm all the way to 10-2. And I want where I started. Like I want that cold sweat dream that I woke up with this morning of like being legitimately fearful I'm going to spend $20,000 on playoff tickets and flights and hotels over the course of 3 weeks. And I want that to come true. I want to have that problem. My kids they'll get educated later. We'll deal with that later. The 401k can wait. This is an unload the bank account situation. I just want to at least get to the point that I'm in November and I'm looking at flights. Maybe I don't book them. Maybe I book some like cancelable flights, some refundable flights or something.
Pay a little extra.
Give me there. Just give me there. Like the fact that we can't even get out of September without me being like, well,
you go all off season. You want the hope. You go all off season, and that's why this is
November time. So we're in the flight window. The flights are popping up. We're starting to look at hotels, maybe some Airbnbs. Maybe maybe how far the drive is. Just give me that. Give me that. Just give me that juice.
They got us stocked. They got us to October last year. They got us to Indiana, and then
5-1 was awesome.
Progress. This year, let's take it a little bit further.
A little further. Honke, thanks so much for joining us, man. We appreciate you. Thanks everybody for listening. Shout out. Check out the Huskers store. Get some pipeline jerky, folks. Thanks for joining us tonight on a Tuesday night. We'll see you next week.